Story 1. I miss my parents, such loving people. I miss the long stretch of summer when time stood still and every day was fun. I miss childhood friends and the joy of being a silly kid. Story 2. How long did time take to pass? Remember how long summer holidays took? Now I blink, and it's my birthday again. Story 3. I miss having no anxiety. I was so myself when I was younger. I am only 25 now, but I cannot stop worrying about how others feel about me. No amount of logic or reasoning can break through that wall of anxiety. I am not okay. Story 4. There was a specific point just after I left university where I had my first job, was doing well in it, and believed that the work I was doing was worthwhile. I had a girlfriend who visited me nearly every weekend. I lived in a neat flat in a pretty village. Everything was really good at that point. I also remember times afterward when I was spending time with my now wife, where she was being really playful. In particular, I remember her playing with modeling clay on the kitchen table once. That was peak wholesomeness for me. The problem is that my happiness at these times came from ignorance. If I had known then what I know now, I would have immediately quit my job and left my girlfriend. That is the problem, I think. It is not so much that youth is wasted on the young, but that the people whose job it is to educate, inform, supervise, and generally care for the young do a horrifically bad job of it. They prioritize their own safety and convenience over that of their charges and do not put any effort into working out how things have changed since they were young themselves. As a result, they leave large areas of important life lessons to be learned purely through painful experience. Story 5. I miss having friends who hang out with you just to do nothing. Just hang out and exist for no reason. Now we have to spend money and organize events for a maximum of 3 hours a few times per year. Story 6. Feeling like I had all the time in the world to make mistakes. And boy, did I make my fair share. Now I'm working towards goals and hitting milestones with no room for mistakes, lest I become homeless, carless, or unable to retire. After college, I moved to San Francisco with no job, nowhere to live, and $4,000 in my pocket. I lived out of my car for a month and slept and showered on Rodeo Beach when the weather was nice. I rented a boat on Airbnb at the San Rafael docks that started to sink while I was sleeping. I went from hookup to hookup and partied in the Castro. I fell in love 3 times and had my heart broken 3 times. I explored Muir Woods and Mount Tamalpais all day for weeks. I took road trips to Tahoe and Yosemite, going wherever the wind would take me. I was adventurous, fearless, and excited about life. The only responsibilities I had were making sure I had shelter and a meal. I wish I still had the energy and lack of fear I had then, before the career and financial milestones that consume my life now. I think about it every day. Story 7. Honestly, just the feeling of the 2000s was that everything was novel. Technology was very promising with new ways to connect and be entertained. New jobs were being added that seemed like they would solve many of the issues the common people were facing. Now, I feel like everything is a scam. I am overwhelmed by the exploitative nature of having a job, the constant stream of bad news, and an unhealthy amount of time thinking about death. When I was young, I could eat an entire roasted chicken, thinking I was still growing, so it didn't matter. Story 8. Limitless confidence. I felt like I had no concept of embarrassment or feeling awkward. Every idea I had seemed like a good idea. Every drawing I made was the best one I had ever created. Every outfit was very cool. I attribute this mainly to bullying, but at some point I became too aware of how other people were perceiving me, and it ruined so much. Story 9. Romance and dating. I miss when it was all crushes, butterflies, excitement, passion, and flirting like it was the best thing ever. Now it is adults focusing on what they bring to the table. No passion, no romance, no excitement, no magic. Story 10. Absolutely nothing. My childhood and young adulthood were horrible. I am living my best life right now. Story 11. Being able to have summer off. I couldn't handle being a teacher. I don't have the patience for difficult students, but I do feel some jealousy when I see old friends who are teachers just up and going to Europe for 30 to 45 days without consequence, permission, or guilt just because they can. Story 12. Honestly, nothing. Sometimes you enter adulthood with the burden you have to overcome. I am free now and I do not want to look back. Story 13. All I had to worry about was doing my homework and I could play Call of Duty 4 with my friends for the rest of the day. Story 14. Getting out of bed without the loud noise of creaks and cracks, and the complete ignorance of how foolish I was. Story 15. Going to bed sore and tired, then waking up refreshed and energized. I do not have any serious medical issues either. I am just 30 years old with 2 children and a 40-hour work week. Story 16. Mainly endurance. How I could stay up all night and into the next day, get a couple of hours of sleep, and then be ready for another awake marathon. Body parts that do not ache, although some of that could be due to many car accidents over the years. I was definitely skinnier too. Story 17. Being able to sleep in unusual positions and wake up feeling fine. I still sleep in unusual positions, but now it hurts my back. Story 18. Literally nothing. I came from an abusive home. My parents split, my mother died, and my father was very neglectful. I had to grow up quickly. I have been working since I was 14. I never got to play sports or do any of the cool things other kids did. It was difficult, but I am very thankful that I am able to allow my son to be a kid and enjoy all the things I did not get to. Story 19. Being carefree, driving around Los Angeles and randomly stopping to have tacos from a street vendor. Story 20. Being able to stay up all night and still function the next day, although I would likely end up working much more and not be able to enjoy my extra time. Story 21. I miss being able to stretch without the fear of pulling a muscle or pinching a nerve and aching for the next week. Story 22. No knee, lower back, or foot pain. I used to run across gravel roads barefoot. Now I cannot walk on cement without pain. Story 23. Energy, the ability to lose weight more easily, and a sense that you still had plenty of time to figure things out. Story 24. A stress-free environment where you do not have to think about anything, just being yourself every day. Story 25. Still having hope and opportunities. As you get older, you realize that windows start closing. I for sure thought I would be much more successful and have a totally different family, house, and life, and I miss that anticipation. Now I know some of those things are not possible anymore, so it is time to focus on what still is possible. Story 26. How young? 6 years old? In their 20s? Mostly good dental health. No back pain. Can eat whatever I want. My grandfather. Learn about my father when he was a sharp individual. Grandmother. My cute baby sister. She is all grown now. Story 27. Every day was enjoyable. Nothing was stressful. I could play video games all day and go out with friends seemingly indefinitely. School was more of a social experience than hard work. Story 28. Being effortlessly beautiful and glowing. I don't mean looks but skin and hair, even when just rolling out of bed. Being older and more lined. I know these are the results of a life lived, but I failed to realize then that I was lovely. Story 29. Being unaware that I had no real responsibilities. Oh, and not experiencing physical pain. I did not fully understand emotional pain, so I was able to mask it. Story 30. I was born in the early 1980s and growing up in the 1990s was not perfect, but up until September 11th, 2001, it felt like the future was really bright. After September 11th, 2001, things have been feeling darker and darker. Story 31. The ability to have multiple intimate encounters in a day. Not saying it always happened, but it was never off the table. Story 32. Not paying bills, thinking 9 p.m. was late, and being excited over Happy Meals as if it were fine dining. Story 33. Just being able to drive into the night to nowhere for no reason late on a summer night with the windows down, the music loud, and enjoying whichever best friend decided to join me for the mission. Story 34. Honestly, I miss being ignorant, not knowing how corrupt the government is, not hearing about wars and politics every day. I went to school, saw my friends, ate lunch with them, and relaxed after school. Now, as an adult, I understand everything. It feels like we were dropped into a terrible world. And there is nothing that can be done except go to work every day. Every time I look at the news, some country has been bombed, someone is viciously arrested or shot, or a fight at the mall turns into a homicide. Story 35. No money worries, excitement about new things, awe, togetherness. There was a lot of hardship in my childhood, but the good moments are what I miss. Story 36. I felt like everything was possible and new. It was growth and adventure. I look back at everything I did and how much fun it was, and I really miss that. Story 37. No financial burdens, endless energy, all-nighters, spontaneous trips and hangouts, carefree love, and so much hope and optimism for the future. Story 38. Actually being approached by women who wanted to hang out, rather than just standing there expecting me to initiate a conversation with someone who was simply lingering beside me and giving the silent treatment. Story 39. I do not know if it is only me, but I am 15 years old. I have back pain, headache, and my legs also ache. I think I also have mental health problems. I am slowly losing my hair, my thick hair. I also have poor eyesight, and to top it all, I always worry about my finances because I am poor. Story 40. Everyone is responding as if the original poster asked for innocent, because there is a lot of privilege in these replies. Story 41. Not knowing about the pseudo-religious Nazi sects of family values and the lengths they are willing to go to prove that someone is bad. I should have seen it as a kid already. People pushing someone around until they fight back and then get all the blame. Story 42. Being healthy. No financial or personal struggle I have ever had compares with the slow loss of your own existence. Story 43. Freedom in many ways. I am not too old either. I am only 21, but I feel like I did not care as much about mishaps as I do now. I did not have to worry about money because I had none and would be playing outside much more. Story 44. Lack of responsibility and health. It is ironic that I spent much of my 20s crippled with depression and anxiety. As soon as I reached my mid-30s and started to manage my mental health and gain some confidence, I was succeeding every day, just in time to settle down, have children, and get married. Story 45. My friends live around the block, and we can ride our bikes to the mall or play video games together every day. You have to plan these days well in advance to get even remotely close anymore. Story 46. I miss being young and healthy, full of energy, and yes, a little bit naive, so I ended up taking more risks than I should have. I also miss being popular and everything that means. Story 47. Munching peanuts. I am 66. I did not look after my teeth and cannot eat peanuts with or without dentures. Story 48. I am 27 years old and not what most people consider old, but I think of myself as the older one for the younger generation, remembering mid to late 2000s experiences. What I miss most is how much easier life felt when I was younger, just existing, going to friends' places, and being amazed by the PlayStation 3 while loving my PlayStation 2 at the time. I also enjoyed building Bionicles and visiting my now deceased grandparents every weekend. Story 49. Literally not having a job and bills. I was never bored. I would eat cheese and crackers in front of Rocco's Modern Life. I would ride my bike to the end of the neighborhood. I made sets out of shoeboxes and a VHS camcorder to film shows with my action figures, doing all the voices and improvising the dialogue. I played Super Nintendo for hours into the night. If I could retire tomorrow, I would spend months just recapturing that childhood experience. Stand-up comedy, 1990s Nickelodeon cartoons, Super Mario World Warp Zone levels, Happy Meals. It is all I want. Story 50. Physical recovery. I could recover from anything. I ran college and professional track. I remember staying out with a girl until 4 a.m. and having practice at 5 a.m. I slept in my car for 30 minutes, then had a 2-hour practice, then went to work for 8 hours and was fine. No way could I do that now. Story 51. The parts of my body that worked correctly. The friends that were still alive. I am only 45, so the parts of my body that do not work are usually my knee or back, not the heart or arteries. Still, it is not fun hurting myself picking up a heavy cat the wrong way. Most of the people I was friends with 25 or more years ago are still around. But time has taken a couple of us, And it is sad to think that they did not get to live full lives, have children, or see their children grow up. Story 52. The childlike wonder in how I looked at everything. I always saw the good in people and took my time to learn something new and figure out how it worked. Now I feel like I am rushing everywhere. Story 53. Being able to stay up really late out with friends, requiring 3 to 5 hours of sleep, and still being fresh for work, then doing it all over again. Being flexible. Story 54. Money and status did not separate us from each other as much as they do in adulthood. We were all students. Story 55. Surfing big waves. I am too damn paranoid nowadays that I am going to get hurt. Insurance will not cover it, etc. Story 56. During the summer, when we ran the garden hose through the laundry pole and outside the other end, water flowed like a waterfall while we wore our swimsuits in our backyard. The entire backyard would be sopping wet with water. Afterwards, after cooling off, our mother would treat us to vanilla ice cream. Story 57. Being able to eat whatever I want and not gain weight. Being able to party all night, sleep for an hour or two, and still look incredible. Being able to enjoy myself without a care in the world about the children, dinner plans, bills, or other concerns. Story 58. The ability to go out drinking 5 nights a week, 3 of those nights until 2:30 a.m., and still be able to function at work. Story 59. Playing outside with my friends. Playing basketball in the park. Running around as fast as I could. Story 60. Ignorance. Ignorance is bliss. Society has this habit of forcing children to think everything is perfect. Then you realize, that is not the case. I miss being oblivious. Story 61. Being able to eat without feeling unwell afterward. My skin was flawless back then too. Now I have stretch marks and acne scars. Story 62. A good fool is happy. A good fool can live in imperfection. They need not change the world or themselves. A wise person has changed, yet they too have found their peace. I am still a fool, but I wish I could go back to being a good fool. Now I am in the middle ground, the bad fool. He sees the good fool on one end and the wise person on the other, happy and all. Think of it like 3 people on a journey to a supposedly better place. 2 seem eager to leave. This is not a place where they feel at home or happy. The other person does not get this. Home is home to him. One decides to stay at home. One goes to the destination and finds a new home. One goes on the journey as well but stops halfway in the desert, too tired to go any further. He is cold and hungry while his pals are happy and content under their roofs with their 3 square meals. Worse yet, he sees the destination off in the distance, but it is out of his reach now. Who is better off, I wonder? Story 63. First, you have to determine young. Young as in less than 15 years old. I appreciated running in the woods, building shelters and huts, and of course the feeling of just being, without having to think about the future, bills, or studies. Young as in 15 to 25 years old. I am 35 now, so that is young to me. I miss being handsome, slim, having money, and being free of burdens. If I wanted to have an exchange study period in Singapore for a semester or 2, I could have it. After that, if I did not feel like going back home right away, I could travel around Asia for a month, 2 or 6. Back home, if I wanted to drink on Tuesday and go clubbing, I could. These days, I have to plan everything months ahead, and most likely someone's child becomes sick or something else happens, and the whole thing goes down the drain. Story 64. No awareness of gasoline costs, taxes, rent, how boring driving really is, and how painful romance can be. Story 65. Less worry, fewer responsibilities, more close friends. People were not as consumed by social media and phones. Most people were not offended by trivial matters, riding my bike, the kids and teens shows we had, the music we enjoyed. Story 66. Stealing the free from financial burden comment. The freedom of choice. Also naps. I would take advantage of every nap allotted to me if I could advise my young self. Story 67. No serious bills, major ability to bounce back and have the energy and motivation to do it. Life was not so complicated, and I was hot, skinny, and funny. Story 68. Back did not hurt. Joints did not hurt. boundless energy, no gray hair, no wrinkles, no children, plenty of money, vacations abroad. Story 69. I miss being able to skip up and down stairs. I miss not even thinking about slipping in the shower. I have never experienced heartburn after eating late Chinese food. I miss not having to wear glasses. I like being old. I just do not like getting old. Story 70. Being a kid was so fun. We went out and played from sunrise until about 5 or 6. We came back for dinner, sometimes lunch, depending on where we went on our bicycles. Life was so fun. Story 71. The novelty of the world is like a deeper sense of wonder when you do not have a concept of anything. Story 72. My great body attracted a lot of attention from women. Now they just see me as a slightly creepy middle-aged man staring at them. Story 73. I miss skipping up and down stairs. I miss not having to wear glasses. I miss not having heartburn after late-night takeout. I miss not worrying about slipping and falling in the bathtub. I like being old, just not getting old. Story 74. No more energy. Thankfully, I live a life that allows me to do a lot of fun things, but I unfortunately do all of them tired. Story 75. Feeling like and being treated as if there is hope for the future and a network of help. When you are young, it feels like you have a network of help and support for your dreams and aspirations. You have a community of people willing to stand up for your safety and well-being. You have businesses targeting advertisements appealing to you, companies willing to hire you, and directors willing to cast you for your youth. All that changes as soon as you turn 18. Once you are an adult, it is free game. Nobody cares what happens to you. Nobody likes you unless they want something from you or they are dating you, and nobody thinks you deserve assistance. It is pretty jarring and sad how quickly people move from caring about you to leaving you to fend for yourself. Story 76. I am only 22, so I am sure the pain is going to get worse. I miss the days when I could land flat on my back from 100 feet in the air and say, "Oof, that hurt. Let me try again." Now, if I sneeze wrong, I hurt my back, and my knee keeps trying to go out of its socket. Story 77. Sleeping like I did not have a single worry in the world. Now I need a full skincare routine, 3 alarms, and a podcast just to fall asleep. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.